little over a year.
It's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I put a sign up that said free hot dogs.
Oh, you did? Well, you were responsible for the grill then. I'm Mike Dean. I'm the chair. Madeline Johnson's our vice chair. I have Celia Fierro from Lenahan. Ed McLaughlin is an alternate member, but he's going to be seated as a voting member today because Susan Brown is out. And we like to have 5 people voting whenever we can. We have 3 hearings. We like to keep it quick, but I also like to make sure everybody gets heard that needs to be heard. We try to answer any questions that people might have. We could be here a long time, though, if people ask the same questions that have already been asked. So I ask you to pay attention to what your neighbors are talking about. Listen to what we're talking about, and where possible, if somebody's already covered that topic or expressed a concern, let them speak for you. Maybe just me too. So we have one hearing to continue, that's continued over from last week. I'd like to get that one done if we can, and then we'll open the 2 new hearings. So Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, we've got Rob Taylor here, who is our administrator, and Whitney Banker, who is our minutes taker. And we may have people attending online or not.
Yep,
I don't know.
We have a couple. Yep.
Who's there?
Jill Begnoch, guest, and Mary and Kirk Oside. Oside. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Oside, okay.
Yep.
If you want to be heard after we're done with the initial presentation, if you have something you'd like to say, raise your hand. I'll recognize you. I'll ask you to state your name for the record, and then you can ask your question or make your point. Please don't talk amongst yourselves. I ask the board also, please don't engage with the audience without checking with me first. Sometimes you won't see it. It'll just be a, quick, hey, we'll look at each other. So we don't do anything draconian. We just, with a lot of people in the room and some possibly contentious topics tonight, I just want to set some ground rules and ask for your cooperation. Okey doke. Any questions before we start? Is this the first time at ZBA for anybody?
Yes.
You all haven't been before?
Not for this one.
Okay. In general, do you all know what the ZBA does? I want to emphasize that we operate within some fairly narrow parameters. We don't change zoning law whatsoever. We are here to decide whether your situation warrants a legal deviance from the zoning law. And that's all we do. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer anything. We can talk to you after the meeting if you like about procedure. Mr. Taylor, would you introduce our first continued hearing, please?
Yeah, I'm going to. This is the continued case from May 9th, which was our last meeting last month. Brian and Faith Goodness are seeking variance relief from the Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 401.1, paragraphs L and M, to construct a to construct a storage shed within the prescribed setbacks to the street and a river. Subject parcel is 3.3 acres and is located at 1120 New Hampshire Route 4A, tax map 40, lot 14, in the R1 residential zoning district. Subject parcel is owned by Brian and Faith Goodness. And I don't see Brian and Faith Goodness here, so.
All right.
We can continue that.
Let's bring up our next hearing then, and if Brian and Faith show up.
We'll put them at the end.
Yep. We'll bring them around.
Just one question. Are there supposed to be 2 sets of applications in the package?
There are 2 applications in the packet. I don't think Mr. Taylor supplied the application from last time.
No, I'm talking about, I get 3, I only got 1.
Should have 2.
Yeah.
It's just separate things?
Yes.
Oh, you missed it.
These right here.
Never mind, I'm just, yeah, sorry.
One looks like an application and the other one doesn't.
Thank you. Appreciate your forbearance.
So we'll jump to the next case on our docket here, and we'll start with land use case Z23-06-01. Rick and Sharon Moots are seeking variance relief from the Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 401.2, paragraph L, to construct a 3-season porch and back deck within the prescribed setback to a lot boundary. Subject parcel is 0.45 acres, located at 137 Algonquin Road, tax map 43, lot 9, in the R3 residential zoning district. Subject parcel is owned by Richard and Boots. And we do have Richard and Jared Boots here, so come on up and make yourself at home. How are you?
Hello, Boots.
Like Rob said, this is my wife Sharon. I'm Rick Boots, and we're just requesting a variance. First to replace the side deck, that was falling down and really rickety with the 3-season room. The reason for the variance is really there is a minor intrusion into the 20-foot side setback line on the right corner of the deck, as you can see by the map that I provided. The second part of the variance is to add a deck out the back of the house, the length of the house. Again, the back left corner of that deck is intruding into the 20-foot setback as well. You can see by the lot itself, it's a very unique lot. It's a piece of pie shaped lot. We call it our little slice of heaven. The impact on both portions of the variance are really on the boat launch side. It's the we marry up to the boat launch, and there's no impact to neighbors behind us or on the side of us.
I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, we're right there. And we're not taking any trees down. There is really no woodland impact on either the side of the deck or on the side of the house or the back of the house. For the 3-season room, we'll plant a shrub bed in the front and the back, just to filter the rainwater that will now fall off of the roof rather than go through the deck. And for the back deck, the rainwater will now flow through the filtered deck boards and not hit just in the area right behind the house and flow into the lake. So that's basically it. I mean, I don't know if you want to add
I was just
anything
gonna
to
say,
that.
we were fortunate enough and we really consider ourselves fortunate enough to have purchased the home in 2021 on Crystal Lake, with the intention of our family, which is growing. Our son-in-law is here with us. He lives in town
He lives in Enfield right over on La Pan.
with our daughter and 2 grandchildren. And we have another daughter and son-in-law that come up from New York, and it's kind of a meeting place. And we're just looking for some additional space with the square footage of the house being small.
Small. I mean, as you can see by it's literally about 800 square feet is the house, and we're
So-
just looking to add some extra living space.
You bought it in 2021 from the Patolas, is that right?
No, from,
Linda Healy.
Linda Healy.
Who bought from the Patolas?
No, that's in here. It's in the quick claim for this.
It's not relevant.
Okay, that maybe
It's
that was
changed hand, I guess, a
before
couple of
then?
times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in, I know she had it as a family trust, and we rented it from her. The first year our granddaughter was born in 2020, and we said, oh, we want to come back every year, and she was looking to sell it, so we
were
got very
fortunate
lucky,
to buy it, so.
very lucky.
Okay, is there anything where is there currently anything where you're planning to put the deck, 14 by 34 deck,
Nothing other than, it's stone in the back there,
like a patio?
stone pad. It's actually gravel patio. It's not stone, it's gravel.
Pervious currently.
Yeah, and the other thing I forgot to mention, but
Impervious or impervious is gravel, is it hard pack or gravel?
it's gravel. The short New Hampshire state claims it to be impervious for the shoreline permit because we had to get the shoreline permit. We got that already. That's been approved and accepted. We got that up 2 weeks ago. It's in there as well.
I saw that they're considering your deck not really to have much effect on the impervious,
Correct.
the amount of impervious area.
Right.
And it really is not our intention to make something humongous in there that really changes the look of the cottage as well as the, for impacting the environment or anything around us. I mean, we just,
So, yeah, so that's the deck, but what about the making the 3-seat, what do you call it, the
It's a 3-seater.
three? That is then less permeable than the pre-existing deck, is that correct?
So the pre-existing deck is there. And when
Yeah.
you say, and now we're going to put a roof over it. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yes.
right.
And in
okay.
the front and the back of that, we're going to put shrub beds.
It'll be the shrub bed.
indigenous
Okay.
Shrubs to the area. We're looking to put blueberry plants there.
Yeah.
And like I said, when it's hits the side of the boat launch, it's really only the corners of each of those areas, as you can see where the sideline goes through. Or it's
It
really,
goes into the setback.
it's like, we're not asking for the entire thing.
So I have a question, may I ask a question
Please.
of you? So I have a question of whatever, a regulatory question. So if this is going from, whatever, I suppose to a more permanent structure, is that make a difference that, you know, one is a deck and one has a roof that has no effect on it? Okay.
It's,
It's this,
it's for you to consider, but as far as regulatory, no.
okay,
It's a permanent structure that intrudes on the setback, so.
so it doesn't matter what's intruding on the setback, okay.
So when I think about this, I look at the DES permit and I see what they said about impermeability and the amount of area on the lot that's, you know, is there more impermeable soil? Is there less? Sealy knows more about that. Sealy, you want to say something about the change in the impervious area?
Pardon me?
Do you want to say something about the change in the amount of impervious area on the lot? I think it's less.
Are you talking about the ES thing?
Right.
Well, I didn't see looked at this. That's sort of a fast, approval for something. I had another question about the space.
Please.
And that was, is that 5 acres, that lot?
No, it's
Oh, no.
0.5. It's a half an acre.
It's
Pardon me?
It's a half an
a
acre.
little less than half an
0.5
acre.
It's 0.45.
How far is it from the other lot line? Your house?
You mean the other side?
Yeah,
Probably the difference is probably maybe 30 feet. But there's a shed there already and that's how we get down to the
And the
lake.
well is on that
The
side.
well's on that side as well.
okay, so none of those, anything else that's not on here that we should know? What else on your plan? You got another shed there?
That's it, yes.
How big of a shed?
10 by 12.
So the shed would be
Yeah, about right there.
in this
Yep.
area?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. 10 by,
10 by 12.
Rob, the setbacks there from Algonquin Road, is that 30 feet?
Yes, they are 3
And is it 20 feet on the
side lot.
side, on both, even with the class 6 road there? Or is that a 30-foot setback also?
Oh, to the street's 30, but to the side lots is 20.
Well, I'm looking
But
at
the road,
That's
the
the
class-
boat launch.
the boat
They
launch.
consider that a road, I guess, but it's
Yeah.
really a boat.
Yeah, remember we had somebody, was an attorney who was here,
it's a road.
whether or not we
Right.
could enforce that. He had some question as to whether we could enforce it, but we've always enforced the setback to, doesn't matter whether it's a private road or
Yeah.
a town road.
Because, right, our law says. road.
that's the boat ramp though, right?
That's the side lot you're talking about. Next to it
Yes,
is the boat ramp.
the class 6 road he's referring to is the boat launch. That's,
That's that boat launch road.
yeah, it's owned by the state.
So what I'm
Is that-
asking is,
No, I'm talking about Algonquin Road, which goes in the front.
yeah, so that's gotta be 30 feet. Right?
Correct.
I think this also has to be 30 feet to the,
If it's a
to
road,
Algonquin. Because that's a class 6 road.
It's not a public way.
Doesn't have to be a public way.
So
The law is
the
about.
boat ramp is not a class 6 road, or is not a road. That's a-
Well,
that's
it's
a-
saying it
that's a
here.
road.
It's a class 6 road down to the boat ramp
Where do you see that?
on the map.
on the map.
Yeah.
Maybe, are we all talking about the same thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about.
Did you put that in there? Is that on the town map?
It's on the town map. I just printed the town map. I didn't put that in there.
Yes.
So you gotta be 30 feet from each road and 20 feet from the lot line. Now, when you wrote this up, were you thinking of this as a sideline?
Yes.
So you're actually,
And probably the house is within the 30 feet right now as
Yeah.
well. The whole thing probably, knowing that
Right,
now,
existing as
not
it,
not
right.
knowing that, but
right.
like, that the whole house or half the house is probably sitting in
It's all-
is sitting in 30,
Like,
30,
you
30.
I guess I have to confirm that is,
Mike, if I could,
yeah, please.
part of why I don't consider it to be a road is that it's listed as a lot owned by the state, that they had to send in a butters notice.
Yeah.
That's why it's an abutting property. It's not, it says class 6 there, but it's actually in a butter. And so if it were, we don't list Algonquin as
On
an
our
abutter.
class 6,
Right.
inventory.
So that's the distinction I have, is like, it's listed as a lot and they're in a butter to that lot that's owned by the state of New Hampshire. So
I hear you.
that's kind of my
Right.
logic as to why it's not a true road. One of my things that I just want to clarify here is that you're basically intruding. I don't want to do it by, it's 2 feet over with the 3-season room, 2 feet greater than the current space.
Correct,
Um,
correct.
Which probably makes a little bit more on the corner based on,
Mhm.
I'm not doing geometry here.
Right.
But the vast majority of that space is already impervious. Whether there's a roof over or not, is considered impervious.
So a
Yes,
deck
sir.
is considered impervious.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
that-
anything over the land is impervious. Even if you had giant drainage holes through it, it's still impervious. So it's not, the only piece that you're really increasing is that triangle.
Yes, sir.
And then with regard to the other space, underneath that 14-foot,
Mhm.
that is currently gravel.
Yes, sir. 12 feet of it is gravel.
Okay, so almost the same thing. an
It's almost
extra
the same.
2
Yes, sir.
feet and then but the idea there is that, it would drain onto the deck
Filtered.
and filter through
Into
the
the
gravel
gravel.
rather than, I mean, that's drainage science that I'm by no means equipped to talk about.
And then the
But
goal.
I'm trying to envision exactly where the water's gonna come down and how that goes into the lake, because it is part of why, when we look at, sort of the greater good and the overall impact. So the increase in footprint, because when I read the shoreland, I read it as that it would, and so the yes and the no's were in weird spaces.
It was, yes.
Yeah, but I'm reading it as that it is proposing a 20%, but less than 30%
Mhm.
increase in impervious.
Of the overall.
Oh, the overall
lot.
lot.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's how I read it.
Mhm.
So, and I still think that that's high, to be honest, compared to what I'm seeing in the drawing.
Mhm.
I don't
I
think,
erred on the side of caution.
yeah, I don't think that's a low number.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a high number compared with, you go by these
Yep.
two triangles,
Mhm.
that's actually sitting there. So we would have no problem. And the frontage to the water isn't really a problem except for that front triangle, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
That-
Because most
that-
of it, most of that.
The 34 by 14 front deck triangle
Mhm.
falls within double setback issues,
Mhm.
right? That's how
Sorry,
I,
what are you, can you just point?
Yeah,
what
so-
You're referring to on the drawing when you talk about the front and double
so this
setback,
corner here,
right?
right, we have an issue with this corner being set back to the water as well.
Oh,
as
okay, I see what
the
you're
side
saying.
setback.
It's within the 50 feet.
No, no,
It's
no, no,
not?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
No,
I
if you look
thought-
at the other map, it's about 100 feet
Okay, all right.
from the water.
So that's really just the side setback of that little triangle
That's it.
there and that little triangle there. But for purposes of everybody else understanding, this current deck that's 10 by 20.
It's
that-
already sticking into it.
It's already sticking into it and it's already impervious. So putting a roof over if they put a brand new roof over what's there right now, they'd be throwing money away, but they could do that.
Mhm.
Well, so
Yeah, I think we
I
understand
told them they can't because.
No, no, and there's a reason, right?
So
Yeah.
in 2019, we changed the grandfathering to
Right.
be a 3-dimensional grandfather. So
Yes.
if you're going up, you have to come to us.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it still would be.
That's over the
impervious.
house height.
Porch-
Not over-
Porch is included.
Okay. I
Yeah,
believe it, but I thought it was house height, sorry, 35 feet was the house
Can you
height.
repeat that? I didn't realize. we did
So-
that.
I didn't either.
Prior to 2019, when we updated the ordinance, you had only a two-dimensional grandfathering that applied. So if you had a camp and it sat in this footprint,
Yeah,
you could tear down the camp and build on that exact footprint. And if it was a one-story camp, you could build a two-story replacement on that footprint. 2019, we said the grandfathering is also including the height. So if you had a one-story camp, you tore it down, you had to replace it with a one-story structure, or you had to come for a variance.
What about the deck? That's what I'm asking about. It didn't have a height requirement on the deck, I don't think, more than less than the. I don't remember anything on deck. I remember the
It's
house.
grandfathering. If
I remember
you're,
the house.
Right.
It's the same footprint.
it's a
If
structure,
Same
so,
foot,
yeah.
but it's not raising.
it does, if you're in the same footprint, you're still, they couldn't, in other words, it's still impervious. The question is, if you're putting a roof over that, you're increasing this dimension, which is it not just.
Okay.
It's, they own the air above the footprint.
And it doesn't, in the ordinance, it doesn't say house, it says structure. So if it's a deck, that's what we've always interpreted that it applies
I
for.
don't think it's gonna affect our decision in
but
this
that's,
case.
Okay.
that's.
It just is interesting. I never
Yeah, it is.
thought of it that way before.
I think the motivation behind it from the planning board suggesting the change to the rule was you had these small footprints that were grandfathered. and People would come and take advantage of that by building a house that kind of looked like a
Seen a
tower.
couple of them. That happens.
Exactly.
It changed the.
And it
outcome of
also,
other
you know, it's a
cases.
definite impact to the people that maybe had a house across the street with a view of the lake. All of a sudden, they're coming in and building and blocking the view. So they wanted to at least protect people's view shed with the grandfathering and make them come for.
Okay, let's come back to this case.
And there's nothing on there that shows this, but behind us,
Mhm.
there is nobody behind us.
I read that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
There's nobody behind
There
us.
was nobody.
And then
Yeah,
the
we're
boardwalk,
not
there's
in
no-
bracket.
We have read this.
That's fine.
So that
Yeah,
is
just
a
wanna
really
reiterate.
good summary.
They know me, they see me.
Something like 425 square feet, something like that, of impact with those two.
Right, so you're adding 425 square feet
It's,
roughly,
I
Add
wrote
to
it
the
down
back.
in one of my papers, and of
and you're,
course now I can't locate it.
And actually 40 square feet probably about for the.
What is it?
For this, 40 square feet for the three-season room, because it's only a 2x20,
Oh, right,
You
but
know.
it's, but, right,
but the
I
back,
was going on,
The larger deck.
yeah, the large deck in the back is about 476 square feet, actually.
I'm talking about the
Incremental
square
increase.
footage of the house.
It's the square footage at the house is about 700 square feet, 800 square feet.
Today?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not 800?
It's 800. It's 800 because of the loft. There's
Yeah.
a small loft.
What's the footprint? 700? The perimeter of the house,
The perimeter
not
is,
the, not the 800 with the wall.
I think it's actually 600 then. The footprint, it's 28 by 20.
18 and 12, that's, or is that 10 and 12?
It's 16, 12, and then 6 for the
16,
bathroom.
12, so that's 18 plus 6 is 18 and 6 is 22. Oh, 24
Plus 10.
plus 10, that's 34 by 20.
Mhm.
So that's 600
Yeah,
something.
it's about 600 square feet.
Yeah, you're not using that 10 feet as living area today, though. So if I'm looking at just the house, it's about 600 square feet.
Correct.
And you're gonna put an addition on,
Mhm.
replacing the existing deck, that'll bring it out to about 800 square feet.
Yes.
You're adding two, whatever, a little bit more than 200, but
Yeah. Plus 450-foot deck. That'll be nice for you. We just put a deck on, it's surprising how nice that is.
It's a beautiful view, so yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Do we have anything else we want to ask? Or should we go into deliberation?
abutters?
Right.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Does anybody here want to speak about this project? For or against? Nope. So I'm going to close the public hearing.
And the state didn't show up?
State did not show up.
Well, it's the target.
Here's what I wrote for, but at this point, we're done talking to you formally. If we need to ask you more questions, well, of course we will. All right, folks, here's what I wrote so far for findings of fact. 600 square feet today, 840 square feet plus 600 plus 200 deck. 840 square feet plus 450 square feet of deck in the future. I don't think it's relevant if they bought this in 2021, so I'm striking that.
Don't they already have a deck? Shouldn't you subtract that off of the other deck if you're adding on the?
Yeah, he's talking about the big deck in the back there.
But he's saying counting the deck that's there right now that they're gonna turn into a 3-season house. You counting that 200 square feet?
Right.
Shouldn't you subtract that from the other deck then as far as the incremental increase?
No, I'm putting the enclosed area of the house as 600.
Yeah.
And then in the future, it'll be 840 because they're gonna close in that 200.
Yeah.
But not call it 800.
Yeah.
So they're going, the house proper is going from 600 to 800.
Yeah.
And then the decking is gonna go from 200 on the side today to 450 on
I
the
thought
back.
you're doing impermeable versus size of the house.
No.
That you're looking for, sorry.
That's right. The gravel patio across the back now is impervious. With a 0.45 acre lot. We aren't sure if the setback on the boat ramp side is 30 feet or 20 feet. Map says class 5.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I did find online, Town of Enfield's Class 6 road guide.
Okay.
Document that I found, and as I'm reviewing, this is the following roads are shown in Enfield Center and Canaan USGS maps.
You could abbreviate, just tell me.
I don't see, it's not listed as a class 6.
Gotcha.
I'll go.
All right.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
So let's strike that as a finding of fact, and we'll just leave it as the applicant presented it at 20 feet. Change the amount of impervious area is small and DES is okay with it. When I read those sections that you were looking at, what I took out of that was the impervious area is between 20 and 30%, and they're proposing a change that will let it. Give me a second. They're proposing a change of also between 20 and 30% of the current impervious area. So they're gonna increase the amount of impervious area by 20 to 30%. But that's not gonna take it out of the range of 20 to 30% of the total
Correct.
area of the lot.
Yes.
So it's a
Yes,
small
20 to
change, but stays in
30%
the same
of
vein.
20 to 30%.
Yes.
That's how I read it as well.
Okay, good. I don't have any other facts to add. Does anybody want to add? Did I miss anything important?
I think that, we should make a finding of fact that it is an odd shaped lot. Pizza slice of heaven.
What if we want to say that
Non-Pepes.
the existing structure already
Yep.
impinges on the setbacks? The existing
Yes,
deck already does.
I mean,
When I look at it, it looks to me like the lot is largely covered by setbacks. And this is why we have a ZBA.
what's below the house to the water?
Ground,
Yeah, what is that? I mean,
earth,
what
and
do you have?
stone. And below that is the
Grass.
grass.
Undisturbed.
It is
Somebody should
completely
show
covered
me.
in grass, yes.
I think we could add into that, there's going to be blueberry bushes that they're going to add. They said they're gonna put blueberries. No, seriously, they're gonna put
Yeah.
Finding a fact, they're planting blueberry bushes on the other side of the deck,
Yeah,
on the grass, on the dirt.
We already have some there.
just be wary of the deer like to chomp on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're finding that out with a few of the flowers up front. They looked great a couple
Like,
days
oh,
ago.
The boat deer food, I didn't really realize it, was boat deer food.
you guys can get started on a motion if you like.
Sure.
Have you guys,
Do we need to discuss the hardship and go through the things first?
Yeah, I'd like a motion so that we can discuss that stuff.
Oh, I make a motion that we begin discussion on
Move to approve. and
I move-
deny the
move to
variance.
approve or deny the variance.
No, it's either or.
Oh, sorry.
We need a motion to approve or
Sorry,
to
I
deny the
get that,
variance.
exactly. I make,
that's et cetera. and then
I
we'll
make a
discuss it.
motion to approve the variance number of case number Z 230601, Rick and Sharon Moots.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion before us to approve the variance. We shall discuss the criteria for granting a variance. And I need to pull up one of those in front of me. Does anybody think this is going to? I'm not gonna try to remember.
Contrary to the public interest.
Right, this is contrary to the public interest. I do not believe it is.
No.
The spirit of the ordinance is observed. I think that's true.
I do. I think they're trying to make it as a minimal impact on an already non-conforming situation.
I don't feel that they're taking advantage of anything. I think that they're trying to do the best they can within the situation that they have.
Anybody else have anything to say about that? Substantial justice is done by granting this variance. We're not making them suffer unduly.
No, and I think that there's the DES's approval gives me some kind of something to hang my hat on, that some substantial justice is being done, in that they're saying it's a minimal.
Every time somebody says DES, every.
Yeah, right.
I've seen it.
So for those of you who aren't aware, Sealy helped write the original zoning ordinance for the town. And she was instrumental in protecting the lakes and water bodies and wetlands in Enfield.
Makes
She's,
a lot of noise.
yeah, we always look to her to defend those areas. Values of the surrounding property will not be diminished.
No.
I'm sure the
No.
program will suffer.
All right, and then we come down to the bugbear. Literal enforcement of the provisions of this ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. So by unnecessary hardship, we mean if we don't let you have your variance, there has to be a good reason within. We have to be doing it to make sure that some specific part of the spirit of the ordinance would suffer if we let you have that variance. I'm not sure I said that very well.
I think where I come down on the hardship is somebody's, the statement is their quiet enjoyment of their property, if you will. And I think being able to utilize it to its full capacity without intruding upon abutters, without impacting the environment, we would be hard pressed to say to deny it creates a hardship. They could be using this for this purpose, but they can't, but for the variance. So if we deny a variance, their full enjoyment of the property they own is hindered.
I agree with him.
Yeah, well said.
I'd probably talk in a circle there, but
No,
No,
that's
I
good.
think that was.
Yeah.
We should write that down, so we remember it for the next case.
All right, so the question before us is, shall we vote to approve the variance as requested by the Moots? And their application, site application number, please. Not, you don't have to read it
B
out. I just mean when you write it down.
230601.
That's the motion. Okay, is there any further discussion? Any further questions? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
All opposed? Somebody has to nay.
You've got your way today. Come on.
All right, you've got your variance.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor will have the signed permission slip. Don't go in the hall without it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very
Really
much for your time.
appreciate it.
Hey, I want to compliment you on your application. I don't know who did that for us, but that was really well done.
Thank,
Yes.
he gets the credit for that. I gotta
Yeah,
give
no, it
him.
was super easy to understand. Thank you.
Good.
We get a lot of applications. Some of them have no maps, but yours particularly showing us the green line and where your corners were gonna stick in and where they are in one simple drawing. Mo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you very
again.
much for that.
So the triangles you're drawing are gonna let you use the most of your triangle shaped lot.
There you go.
Very good.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you again for your time. We appreciate it.
There you go.
Pass this down to Whitney.
Hey, Whitney.
Thank you.
See if you've got
Mine
everything
needs
that
that.
went on there.
Or not.
All right, does anybody need a short break?
Oh. All of a sudden.
No. After the, we lost Rob. Wait, guess Rob's not that interested.
You gotta tell them when they come back and get there.
No, it's that thing. I was talking in circles, but I hope you understood what I meant at the end when I said.
I don't think you were going in circles. I think you made a really good point. I think you said it's the same thing.
From
That's all.
somebody concussion talking to somebody who's slow tonight.
Right.
Well, that's why I looked at them to make sure that
We're
they
speaking
were
the
getting
same
it
language.
too.
For the minutes, I wrote it down as being able to use the property to its full capacity without intruding butters or impacting the environment would be hindered by denying the variance.
Yeah,
Very good.
Right.
I'm gonna ask her the next time. That would be.
We still in session, or you guys on break?
no.
We're in
No,
session.
we're in session.
Okay, so I have a little update on Brian and Faith Goodness. I called and left her a message, and I did return my call while I was in here, and I saw it on my voicemail. They've withdrawn their application. They're walking away.
Okay,
So we're done with that one.
All right.
so we should take action then to either dismiss it or deny it, however you want to do it. They withdrew, but if they withdrew it, I think as
I
long
don't
as
think
you
any
send them a
action is
letter saying you withdrew it.
Yep.
It's,
I think I'm just gonna recognize as chair for the minutes that Faith and Brian have withdrawn their application and that the board will take no further action in the matter.
sounds good.
You ready for the next?
Yes, it's quite a.
I think so.
Quite a presentation we have.
I don't mean to people want anybody else's maps, but these are not clear and simple.
You ready for it? I'll read it now.
And I know you get paid a lot to generate pretty maps, but I
This
would
is
much
the-
rather a map that shows me the outline of the property and the setbacks, where the new properties or the new house is gonna go and where the old house is, all in one map.
I'll read the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll stop proselytizing.
Yes. Land use
Oh,
case.
he has this, this has the shoreline setbacks.
Hey, he's trying to talk.
This is land use case Z 23-06-02. The Willikit Trust, Paul C. French is seeking variance relief for the Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 401.3, Paragraph M, to reconstruct a single-family home within the prescribed setbacks expected for Pollen. Subject parcel is 14.45 acres, located at 65 French Road, tax map 17, lot 24 in the R5 residential zoning district. Subject parcel is owned by Paul C. French.
You look like Mr. French,
I am, yes.
all right?
If you're wondering, somebody drove halfway down your road today. I was doing that. I thought, well, maybe I couldn't see, as I was trying to figure this out. I thought, no, I'm just gonna back up and go
You can
away.
go all the way down. There's a
So-
lot to turn around there.
Okay, well, anyway, I thought, I don't know if this is really okay, but
Oh, yeah.
I went down, some,
Do you mind
Somebody
if I continue?
next to you
go on.
has a game camera or something. That's the only place I could turn around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Engineer
I
Darrell.
said,
Yeah.
well, here I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to?
I didn't see that.
Yes.
Sorry.
So.
Thank you.
Introductions.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Erin Darrow from Right Angle Engineering. I prepared the application on behalf of Paul for the variance we're seeking tonight.
Who's Willikit Trust?
So, my grandparents bought the camp in 1944, June of 1944, actually. And it was called We Like It. So
Willikit Trust.
we like it.
All
So
right.
Got it.
when we,
That's the most interesting fact I've ever had.
You got that down there?
yeah, so the name's been around for a while. And when we We subdivided the land a number of years, probably 5 years ago, and so it's in a family trust now. So that seemed like a good name. It sounds different than you write it though, right? Well, it's what I usually hear.
I'm pronouncing it phonetically.
Yeah.
That's how I've been, we like it,
We like it.
yes.
Grandparents, French.
Yes,
Now your story is forever immortalized in the minutes,
good.
the Enfield ZBA.
Yeah, it's been around for a while.
Can I ask some simple questions before you get started?
Definitely.
And I'm looking for short answers. Are you basically tearing down an old house and building a new house,
Yes,
Yes,
roughly in the same place,
yes,
not the same size? Just simple answers.
yes,
yes,
Not huge, just not the same size.
correct.
And part of it wants to be inside the setbacks. Again, simple answers.
yes,
Yes.
basically, it's a,
You wouldn't be here if that weren't the case.
yes, oh,
I'm gonna give
absolutely,
you your chance too. I just need to
Yeah.
get some, make sure I've understood the basics,
yes.
of the application, because it's long and I didn't read all of it.
It's a very irregular shaped structure now, and it's going to be a more rectangular shaped structure too, and that's contributes to the need, the variance.
All right, and my one other and simple question that I'm gonna ask you to address at some point is, why couldn't you just scoot it over so it's inside setback, so it's in the buildable area of the lot? That's ultimately where it all comes down to for me.
Because we're wedged between a setback between the wetland between the wetlands and then the shoreland. And by moving it in one direction or the other, the exact location it's in now optimizes the existing grades. It minimizes the need for expanding the footprint. And it minimizes what we would need within the dimensional setback, for the
Okay.
wetland and shoreland
All right, so
areas.
when you get to this point in your presentation, I'm gonna ask you to show me where all those boundaries are, because
Absolutely.
I can't see them on the map,
Yes,
just my own limitation.
yes.
All right, thank you for your patience. I invite you to present.
All right, well, again, my name's Erin, and I'm the engineer that prepared the site plan on behalf of Paul, and I also prepared the shoreland permit that was approved, that's included with this application. And, I can go through and read this verbatim, but I think probably all we need is a summary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so essentially what Paul is looking to do is build a single-family house on the site property. We took a look at a lot of different options, but really, right now, to build a house in the simplest manner possible, the location of the old house is really the least impacting, most efficient location. So that's what we're looking to do. In order to make that work, however, we have constraints with a number of different setbacks. Two of which are the setback from the shoreland reference line of Spectacle Pond, and then we have the wetland boundary and the setback on the other side of the house. So we're kind of wedged in between those for the structure. And then additionally, there's an existing grandfathered non-conforming septic system on the property. That
That's
is
the box with the three.
that's,
rolls on it.
I,
You look on the one behind, you can see. Oh, no, that's the
Yes.
leach field with the current one.
and there is an existing system and dug well on the property.
Yeah.
And we're looking to put in a state compliant system and a drilled well. Basically, we're looking at upgrading the entire thing. Quite frankly, it was a cute old cottage in its day, but it's kind of an eyesore at this point. It's dilapidated, it's uninhabitable. The cost of rebuilding it, of reconstructing it would be exorbitantly expensive for what it is. Could it be done? Anything can be done,
Sure.
but it would be an unreasonable expense and hardship in order to do exactly what was there. So Paul has a proposed house design that does have a bigger footprint than what was there, but it's very consistent with the size. And the reason why it is smaller is that there's a lot of walls and odds and ends essentially to the existing footprint. And this basically straightens, and that's generally what you have in most modern construction right now, straight walls. The more irregularities you have, the more expensive that it is, the less efficient the construction is. So we're looking at essentially putting a very similar sized house in that same footprint. Now, there's 3 circles on that site plan that show the area where a variance is needed. And it's on the spectacle pond side of the house. There's one on the north end of the house and there's one on the south end of the house. Then on the south end of the house, on the opposite side, opposite of spectacle pond, there's a circle that also says variance needed, and that's because there's a little area that's within the wetland setback. Not the spectacle pond setback, but the wetland setback itself.
You're talking about the wetlands that's,
This is
green fluffy area.
Essentially. The wetland,
yeah, can you just,
Here.
if you.
I think Paul's nodding for me.
I am, yes.
so the green fluffy area is actually the edge of the tree line. So the edge of the wetlands
Okay.
is
Here, it's,
the
if you,
black
this
Hold-
map
hold on,
is
let me-
here.
dotted
Got
line.
it marked here
One,
on this other map.
Page 2.
That looks.
Those two.
the green part is,
Look on
Trees.
page 2, it's easier to understand, CD, because it's marked here, edge of wetland, it's this dotted.
Oh, I
line.
see. Yep.
And it shows the existing footprint with this is a little bit easier to understand, I think.
So yeah, the first page is an existing conditions plan. That's a survey that
Gotcha.
Chris Collins put together. And then the second page is the design site plan, which I tried to get rid of a lot of line types. I actually
appreciate
really
it. Thank you.
simplified that, but I understand that it's still kind of a complicated engineering site plan. But I wanted to call out the attention of the 3 locations where the variance is needed.
So I'm not
And-
seeing your intrusion in the,
We're actually moving the overall structure further away from the reference line.
yeah, I can
But
see that.
because part of that overlaps an area, there is essentially a breezeway sort of between 2 sections of the house.
It's the purple. It's the purple line that's your setback from the
Yes.
delineated wetland.
Yes.
Okay. Just cut that corner of the building off. Come on.
We have a
Yeah.
45-degree,
And I think I also
We're
want
giving
to
the triangles.
draw attention to, there's an old metal shed that was taken down that we've already,
Okay.
that was recent. That's part of the overall site improvements.
Is the driveway gonna stay the same?
Very similar, yes.
And so then, okay, and then this is the leach field is moving up.
Yes.
Okay,
where's your leach here?
And that's your septic tank.
Oh, it's way up here.
yeah,
Now it
The
is?
septic tank is
No.
going to be, there's a box with the 3
Yeah.
circles, that's the septic.
that's the septic tank.
Oh, okay, well, I'll be gone.
And even just to get the septic in,
$30,000 to
that's-
learn that.
To learn that, yeah, they're not expensive, inexpensive circles.
that septic, we're really kind of in between a rock and a hard place to make something fit within all the required setbacks. So that's outside of the protective well radius, it's outside of the wetland setbacks, it's outside of the shoreline setback.
And it's still
We're at-
accessible by the honey truck.
It
It's
is.
compliant with, yes, it's compliant with easements and the deed and the property and everything, so it fits.
And you said,
Part of it will have to be under the driveway, but that's not a big.
and you said that has been approved, that the septic system has been approved?
Excuse me, the septic system actually has not been approved by the state. The shoreline permit has been approved by
Okay.
the state. I have most of the septic done.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
No, they can't, they have to have a,
Yeah.
a septic
Just
approved in
put
order
as
to
one
get
of
the
the
building
findings of
permit,
fact.
so.
Like,
The shoreline, yeah, but we do need the shoreline permit.
You have to.
Okay.
So the shoreline permit is approved.
Permit
So you're saying in order to move this
Sorry?
out of the,
shoreline permit's been granted.
Yes.
the wetland or the shoreline setback, in more move the house over, you're stopped by. What is stopping your house from moving it over
Well, if we move it over, we're gonna move closer to the wetlands.
close to the,
If we move it to the north, we start to have encroachment over utility easement, and then we also are more limited. We also have grading, the site slopes. So where we have the house located, we need to do hardly any site grading at all. When we start moving it one way or the other, we start to need to either excavate or add quite a bit more fill. So with this, we really don't have to do a lot of that. And it works in really nicely to incorporate some additional stormwater runoff treatment by having some of these, the infrastructure for the house laid out the way that it is. So we're able to really maximize the distance of the leach field away from Spectacle Pond. We're really able to optimize the distance of the leach field also from the wetlands. We're able to add a few, we're putting in a garage, which we don't need a setback, dimensional variance or setback for, but we're adding some stormwater runoff for the garage as well. It's just with this layout, we're able to really minimize our overall impact. So we're trying to really be cognizant of the intent of the variance, the intent of the ordinance. How can we really,
What I'm writing here is the house location fits between wetland and
Yes.
shoreline buffers and requires the least grading and site disturbance.
absolutely. There has been some clearing on the property. We're able to really minimize the clearing any further on the property outside of what we're doing right now by keeping the house where it is. It really,
You can keep
I mean,
those pines that are right up front on the water there.
and I mean,
That'll look nice.
I've seen this a
Yeah,
lot.
no, they're,
Old houses, those really old houses, like from the 1800s, they were often really, a lot of thought was put into
Yeah,
how they were
I was
situated
thinking that.
on the land, because, I mean, it was a lot more work to build a house in the 1800s than it is now. I mean, it is a lot of work now, but just a different way. So I do find that a lot of that old ingenuity really comes to light. You see houses optimized for orientation and land and all sorts of different reasons. So, and we have found through our exercises that seems to be pretty consistent at this location.
All right. Any questions for the applicants, people?
So, going back to what, and maybe this is not relevant, but going back to what we were talking about before in the footprint and the volume, so this is presumably going to be higher than the existing house? So is that something we need to take into consideration? Is it?
yes.
I'd like to get the dimensions of the original house and the dimensions of the new house in gross terms. I'm not talking about the livable area, but
So the dimensions of the existing is 850 square feet,
Approximately.
and the dimensions of the proposed house, which includes a porch, is approximately 1,200 square feet.
is there a porch on the original?
There's,
You include that in your 850?
no, it did not, because that's another 120, 150.
About 125.
Yeah, so it'd actually be 1,000 feet, including it's a porch or a deck. It's on.
It's approximately 200 additional square feet total.
I'm gonna call it 1,000 square feet for the existing structure, and what's your new plan? What'd you say?
1,200.
Okay.
Which includes porch, is in that 1,200.
And the original was single story, right?
That's correct.
And the new
Yeah.
one,
Will be 2-story.
The photographs are back at the back
And
here.
that includes the walkout, which was stories. So I think we should note that, because we're not adding height, we're actually we're adding some height, but we are that's. a
Yeah, it
walkout
looked like,
basement.
it almost looked like a half story kind of the way it looked at the drawings anyways.
Yeah, but it's, yes, I mean, I'm not sure what you would call it, but,
what about change?
structure is, it's 1.5 stories, I guess, if
That's what I've
usable
written.
space.
New is 1,200 square feet, 1.5 story. What about changes to the impervious surface amount on the lot?
Well, it doesn't change it that much, does it?
You've got your shoreline permit,
Yes.
DES study, so they will have said something in there, or somebody will look at it and say,
14.4.
14 acres, so
Yes, the total lot size is approximately,
It's 14.45.
really, probably the minuscule ratio of the total acreage.
Your shoreland, everything is within the shoreland. And can you give an idea of how much, land coverage that you're doing in the shoreline section zone?
You can see. here.
Of the
No, I'm
1,000
talking about
square feet.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's see,
garage
the
and-
shoreland permit is for 24,192 square feet.
Goes up to here. See, that's the impact zone up here, which falls, it looks,
24,192.
yeah, I saw that in the application, but I don't remember what it's
What
for.
was
So
that?
that's
Tell
the
us.
total area of impact that is approved in the shoreline permit for impacts within the shoreland area. And that is inclusive of both temporary and permanent impacts.
20,000.
24,192.
So what we're looking for here is to understand the change of your intrusion into the setback.
Yes.
Those are the numbers that will help us understand whether this is making the situation better or worse.
So we are moving the structure 4 feet and 6 inches away from,
The square footage,
and the square footage
So that'd
of
be 30 times 4, so it's,
about 120.
yeah, it's pulling. Yeah, there's 120 feet that we're going back, so there's probably, I mean, within the 50-foot range of the shore is not even 3 feet.
Yes.
So it's probably half the house for 2 feet, so it's probably 15 times 2, 30 feet, something like that.
here's the original. So it's
It's
looking like,
in here.
yeah, I see. I'm talking to myself. So roughly a third of the original structure is inside the 50-foot setback.
Okay,
Yes.
And roughly a quarter of your current structure would be.
Yes.
Okay, so
so that,
roughly a third, so roughly 300 feet.
okay. Didn't do that calculation, but that's probably,
That's about,
What's the possibility of trying to get the house within the 50-foot setback by moving it over a little or shrinking it down some to meet the 50-foot setback?
Like, where are you?
I would
thinking?
take the house and I'd move it that way.
But then you're in the wetland.
Wetlands.
So is it, the
The
purple
wetlands
line
over
is,
here.
that's the wetland setback.
the purple line is the wetland setback.
Okay,
See, Lee, so if you moved it here, you're more in that.
yeah, but you're not, this is here's the wetland here,
Right,
and that's the 50-foot.
right.
And then we'd encroach even closer because the ground slopes toward the wetland in that location. So to create a flat area suitable for a house would substantially increase the impacts on the buffer toward the wetland. So it wouldn't have, I mean, we're here because we need to be here in order to build the house that Paul needs.
Even if you were just going up a story,
Yes.
if you're sticking something on top of what's there in the same exact place, you'd have to be here. So
It's very similar. We're making a net, decrease in the 50-foot buffer. We're making an effort to meet the spirit of the ordinance by incorporating stormwater runoff. Another benefit is that you have the substandard septic system, which is, I think, very important. And we're also gonna be putting in a well. We're gonna really be cleaning the site up.
So I know you have 12 acres. And there's really no other place that you could put this with the same kind of ambiance, so to speak, because you're right on.
No, I mean, not without wetland impacts or a much more
Yeah.
significant footprint. And then we have a very beautiful large lot that is primarily wild and undeveloped and undisturbed that would be, and it's fragmented, so we would be disturbing this undisturbed area and going over wetlands and having to do crossings in order to access another location at a great expense and creating a significant hardship to Paul due to the uniqueness of the lot.
I think that, Mike, if I can just.
Yeah, please.
Fire. When I looked at it, it also looks at, I heard what you said, Aaron, about them putting the house in the right place. I think if you did have to put it somewhere else, the amount of excavating and just disturbance is really, we know it would be large, but it's almost unpredictable as to what you would get into.
We do just starting, and I had my wetland scientists take a look at the wetlands. You know, we've studied this carefully.
Okay.
And you would have an unavoidable wetland crossing, so that would create a hardship. You know, would that be a difficulty with the DS? Possibly, because they could say, you can build a house here without crossing any wetlands. There's a lot of different issues that and considerations that come into play.
I'm just thinking of bringing, having to bring in equipment and
Yes.
all of that. Currently, there's sort of a good mechanism to get building supplies in there and such to have someone build it. Put it somewhere else. you're
One
gonna
of,
be-
one of the advantages,
Please.
Question, you talked about the total disturbance or impact, is temporary versus permanent, how much was temporary?
I would need to go back to the shoreline permit to give you that exact number, but I want to say it's about, I mean, temporary means I'm supposed to include everything where an excavator might drive over. So I think temporary is more than 50%. I mean, really, ultimately.
In restoration after the impact?
Oh, yes, and actually Paul's already started getting plantings and landscaping done.
we have a landscaper coming there next Wednesday to plant trees.
So we're actually exceeding the requirements of the permit.
I think one other item is there's a road there now that, it comes off French Road. The driveway goes down to the house lot. So we're not creating a new drive. There's already a drive there.
Thank you.
There's a road where the house is gonna go?
Yes.
Yes. An existing driveway, an existing road, everything's disturbed. Anybody that's been out there would
That was
probably
what
agree
I
it needs
was
to be
on
cleaned up.
today then, that, so your house would be pulled back towards it. It's the only road that goes down there.
Yeah, so there's a sharp turn and you can see that,
And then there's two houses down there.
Yes, yes. So ours is where there's a red house there now.
You're gonna use the existing drive and road
Yes.
and just
How many stories?
1.5 stories.
I'm gonna read out all the findings of fact in a moment, and some of that stuff is already in here, Susan. I'll try to be loud. Mr. French, did you say you're gonna use the existing road and drive?
That's correct.
And I asked if there's gonna be any changes to it.
Yes, well, we're going to resurface. We're gonna do improvements, but not,
Yeah, but we're using the same
yes,
road.
yes,
Same road bed.
yeah.
Are you gonna put asphalt down?
You got quite a slope too, so you're gonna go. Drops.
All right, may I read out the findings of fact?
Yep.
And then we'll get input from the public. And people can correct these findings. And then we'll have a motion and we'll deliberate. The team has involved a wetland scientist to help plan the least impact. Wellicut is actually, we like it, from 1944, purchased by grandparents French.
Thank you.
Shoreline permit has been granted. Septic design is not done. House location fits between the wetland and shoreline buffers and requires the least grading and site disturbance. Might have to rewrite that a little better. Any further north would encroach on the utility easement on the road. The existing house is decrepit, however, the location is quite good. The existing house is 1,000 square feet. single story. The planned new house would be 1,200 square feet, 1.5 stories. The lot is 14.45 acres. Change to impervious surface area is minimal. I have to finish writing that sentence. Roughly 300 square feet of intrusion today. The new will be approximately 350 square feet. Don't see an actual reduction there, but I'm not. I mean, if you guys want to do the real numbers, that's fine, but I don't think that's a big
What was it?
problem.
I mean, it's pretty close. to
What was
the
it,
wash.
24,000 square feet?
That's from the DES permit. It's the amount that they're gonna disturb during the building process, temporary and permanent.
Yeah.
And she said about half of that is,
And even if it is.
she thinks about half of it is
Have
temporary.
you been at the site?
No,
You can have it.
I have a couple more. They will replace the well and septic with new modern systems. The proposed garage will mean cars are not parked on the property near the water. The existing road and drive will be used, not asphalt. And I'll give you this, Whitney. Does anybody have any changes to those? No, these are supposed to be facts.
Yeah, I think that I'd like to add that a different, a different site would require a significant financial, would create a significant financial impact. Because I think I've heard enough evidence to hear that there'd be more excavating, there'd be more, going to a different site from where the house currently is would involve a lot more work. And I can extrapolate from that expense.
Financial and impact to wetlands in the buffer zone. Right now, we're avoiding any direct impacts to wetlands. If we were to look at developing on another location, more likely than not, it would require direct wetland impacts.
So I see here all these complicated drawings about the drainage, so it also sounds as if whatever you do for the drainage and the water management on the property is going to be an improvement. Even still being in the same site, it's still gonna be an improvement over what is currently there.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, there's essentially no treatment. You actually have a dilapidated building. Yeah. We're doing what we can, but essentially, we're looking at bioretention, have rain garden, a swale. We had considered dry well, but we're looking at trying to keep it as natural as possible. And the idea is to really try to hold material in place as much as possible. What I found when I was doing the test pits is actually quite a bit of sandy material through there. So, we'll make sure everything is situated and installed properly.
What
And
about the soil? Have you any soil tested done?
I mean, I went and completed test pits. And my wetland scientist is also a certified soil scientist, and he has gone out and taken a very thorough look at the site property, in particular, the area slated for construction. So yes, we've done test pits, we've looked at the foundation locations, we've looked at septic location, we looked at where we want to do some of the stormwater treatment. So we have taken a very careful look to make sure that what is on these plans can actually be built and is feasible. So that is a very important component of the design.
What sort of a foundation, if there is, to the existing building?
Cinder block.
Yeah,
It's just,
stone piers.
it's on stone, okay.
Mike, I think
They're
I
still
did-
there.
I think I did hear that the current structure is essentially uninhabitable,
It is.
so I think that's,
I said decrepit.
but if it's not. if
Yeah.
it's Uninhabitable, and
I think it's right.
a new building is habitable.
Creating a public risk.
In an area that's in desperate need of housing, I think it's important to know.
I'm familiar with Jonathan Sisson's work before. I've worked with him in the past. And he's got both the wildlife, he's got the fauna and flora expertise.
He's amazing.
He's designed
Yeah.
all this in conjunction with you, with his certifications and all of his 19,000 degrees.
Yes, and I'm actually apprenticing under him, hoping to sit for my wetland certification in January. But yes, I've worked with him for almost 20 years and he is very thorough.
He is. Too thorough.
He is very passionate about his work when we're out there.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I assure you that we have taken a thorough look at the dirt.
Yes.
I can guarantee
I can
that.
attest to that.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion.
You wanna do the public?
Oh, yes, thank you. Is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor or in favor of or against this proposal? Yes, sir.
Being in a butter of Paul's and the,
We need your name
I'm
first.
sorry, Charles Samansky.
Charles Samansky. Thank you, sir.
I only see what he's doing as an improvement to the whole area. The decrepit, uninhabitable, generous terms for what's there right now.
Generous terms.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely. I look forward to seeing something clean and new and fresh that isn't, an intrusion, and I don't believe it would be.
so if kids or somebody homeless were to take shelter in that building as it is today, that might be a problem.
Yes, that might be a problem. I don't think they'd stay long. Much shelter there.
All right. Is there anything else, sir?
No,
Just want to speak in advance. Did you,
Sounds like someone already.
I think there is, but I want to make sure you've got Mr. Samansky's support. All right. Anybody else here in the room? And then we'll go to the phones. Yes, sir.
I'm Bob French, on Paul's side.
Bob French, okay.
Been there 82 years, we've owned the property.
And you like it?
We like.
And we like.
And you're living in the house today? Living in the house for 82 years?
He said, are you living in the house today?
Oh, you see trees growing out of the roof. So I think any improvement's gonna be 100%.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, on the phones. I see a hand up for Marion Kirk.
Yeah, hi, this is Mary. We are abutters as well and here in support of Paul's proposal. I just did want to mention, you know, they have been really good stewards of this property for, what did I hear, 82 years. And we are seeing that same thing from Paul in all of his plans and all of his communication with us. He's been great about including us and making sure that we know what's going on. And we feel really good about the plan that he's put forward. You talked a little bit about a place, you know, relocating in some way, and I think that would really be detrimental to the neighborhood if that were to happen. The place where the house is now, it makes sense. There's not a lot of clearing to be done. And so we're very supportive of the plan that's been put forward tonight.
All right, thank you, ma'am. It's good to hear that you're considering the location of the house as well. Let's see. Ms. Bignosh? Are you just observing? Jill, I'm probably butchering your last name.
Hi, yeah, no, we were just curious, we're butters as well over on Graham Road. But yeah, everything looks great. We were just really curious of the property and the plans. No concerns.
Could you pronounce your last name for us?
Big Nosh?
Bignosh, all right, not too far off.
You're
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
close. Yeah.
All right, can we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the variance as submitted for, I'm gonna say docket number. I'm gonna say
Whitney,
land
what's the
use
docket?
case, yeah. D 230602.
Second,
Second.
Ed seconds.
We're voting to approve.
So let's go through the criteria quickly.
Have you closed the public?
Sure, let's close the public hearing. I don't know why we do that. It's just something we do.
So limit
There's
discussion.
There's rules, right?
Yeah.
And not every public is as amenable as this
Mhm.
public, so.
So Mike, I do not think this will be any variance in the public interest. Matter of fact, it'd be most in the public interest to do.
I
this,
agree.
to get this building.
Anybody disagree? Anybody want to speak to that otherwise? All right,
Certainly not going to have a negative effect on the property values of surrounding properties.
let's go through them in order. I agree with you, but
Yeah.
let's go through them in order.
Yeah.
Just, Ed, you want to lead that
So we did the first one, the variance would not be contrary to public interest. The spirit of the ordinance is observed.
I would say it is, and that's evidenced by the well thought out plan that was put together to be as minimally invasive and considering both buffers. In this case, we have setbacks to two different protected areas, and we're clearly making best to make it fit both of them.
Well, and I think that the fact that all the abutters who have spoken in favor of it,
Yeah.
seems like that's an indication of public interest.
And we're gonna have a real septic system there and things
Yeah.
along that line, and the quality of
Yeah.
the water will be improved around septic,
Yeah.
spectacle
Yeah.
pond and such like that, so.
I agree. Harmonious development of the land.
My favorite saying.
The values surrounding properties are going to be diminished, not diminished.
No, they will not be diminished.
Oh.
Increased, if anything. Actually, I think hearing from the abutters that this is not gonna change their outlook on the property, is worth considering, that it's not going, that they're gonna largely experience exactly what they do now, except in way nicer looking building in the distance.
Celia has something to say, I skipped
Well,
over,
I
so
was just
sorry.
gonna add that the detail with the wetlands is good. And hopefully sounds great if you gotta follow through on it, because that's your big challenge there. It's all over. The
Right.
wetlands are all over.
It is. No, there's a seasonal brook that is
I-
right there.
It's a
Yeah.
plus that you did that.
I hope you're gonna have a screened in area.
I
Oh,
think
God,
that's
yes.
great for the,
You need a screen.
Yes, I was there. Scratching the mosquito nets, so.
All right, what's our next
Literal
point?
enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship.
Did we do substantial justice? I don't think we did.
No, we haven't.
Did I skip that one? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I think granting this variance will do substantial justice.
I
apologize for that, yes. Substantial justice is done, yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Has been done.
Okay, values surrounding properties are not diminished. We all agree.
We all agree on that.
And literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship.
Yes.
I
We all agree.
think we know that it would be, it's a unique shaped lot, and for them to put it anywhere else would incur significant expense and potential environmental impact.
And after 82 years of experience.
Yeah, I think it's in the right place.
Most importantly to me, enforcing precisely the setbacks in this case will not advance the causes of the ordinance. It's not gonna make, I don't think it's gonna make a difference to the
Can I-
things we're trying to guard.
I think for me, it's one is they've done the work on the soil science, they've done the work on the fauna and the flora. But what they've tried to do is also to make sure that they take into consideration the value of the wetlands and the value of the pond itself.
Mhm.
And improve the overall value of the taxes within the town of Enfield.
Well, and I think also, they've got a great, a large piece of land. In theory, they could have built something, a enormous house on that piece of property in another place, and instead they've chosen to remain with a house that's the same spirit and essentially the same size as what's there. To keep the character of the neighborhood and not put something that's huge as other people have done around here.
Like I've done as you have asked, I've gone through the 5 criteria.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin.
So I think it's safe to say that we, as it pertains to this variance application, we like it.
We do. Do we want to vote?
yes.
Let's get that in
All right.
one more time.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nah. I'm not really
None of
opposed.
them.
Not really opposed.
Good place.
5 in favor.
Yeah. You've got your variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for rehabilitating a nice section of one of our lakes. Well, we appreciate that very much.
We've had it in the family for a long
Yeah.
time. We're trying to keep it
It's like a
there.
beautiful project,
Yeah.
so have fun.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, the work begins now.
yeah.
Okay, are you here just in case?
You want to pass the pen?
Yeah, Whitney.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good seeing you.
There's no baseball game.
What were you here for?
Yeah, we were all nervous.
We were all
I
expecting
was.
you to come up and-
Oh, no, Barry's here. What are you?
Hi, I'm Todd.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm Paul's brother.
Oh, you're close brothers.
Yeah.
Barry, what were you here for?
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Just want to see what's gonna be on the Supreme Court docket next.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That is such an awesome spot out there.
It is.
Let's stand adjourned and,
Enjoyed it for years and years and years.
Aaron, good job, very good job.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is what I love doing.
I'm still riding Toyota. It's good that you do, right?
Right, yeah.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
Aaron, that was,
I love that,
that was the Gallagher Callahan Gartrell worthy packet. You know, that's a compliment.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, after you showed me
Well, I
around,
had,
the
I had
maps are
some
great.
very good support. We had a great. So.
We call that.
Tell John, every time I was on him, I said.
And he actually mentioned.
Trying to keep it, you know, we, as generations of families go, we had to kind of cut up our arm to keep it going.
Now your dad's
Very
stay the
good.
night.
He's a very.
No one's stayed there. I mean, it's been, you know, we had
The recording turned
extended
off.
family members for years.
Let's kill it.
Yeah, don't tell him that.
It has
We're adjourned at 21 after.
I will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think, I could see myself sitting out there playing my guitar.